We'll get started here. Our topic today, hopefully you'll learn about smartwatches for everybody by myself, Tom Kreuzer. And I want to thank everyone for showing up. There are some handouts in back. If you didn't get one, we can get one there for you. And excuse me with the mic. This mic is kind of ultra sensitive. Either you're at one area or you're getting broadcast or not. First, a little bio about myself. I'm known as a PC guy because I've had the personalized Minnesota license plate, PC guy, for going on almost 50 years there. I'm the son of John Kreuzer here at Carondelet. John's in back there. I worked 40 years at 3M in the information technology IT area. I also am currently a presenter and have been a member and led the club and done all kinds of things in the 3M Personal Computing Club for over 35 years. I do offer free computer help. I mention in here I'm thrifty, I'm not cheap, so if there's an inexpensive way or if there's free software or something like that, I tend to recommend some of those things there. Okay, we do have a topic. I just set the topic for February. The topic for February is going to be the best phone and tablet apps. So we'll talk about the wide variety of apps there. That'll be February 15th. And I won't be going into a great deal of detail, but I'll talk about quite a few of them. There's actually in my list over 300 apps, anything from cooking to weather, and most of the apps are free. Also, I mentioned with myself and my sister and my brother-in-law back there, we put on Fix-It Clinic here at Carondelet, and that is coming up. The next one is coming up this coming Monday, January 16th from 1 to 3 p.m. You can sign up down at the table for a time slot, a 15-minute time slot. And if you've got anything that's broken or that you have questions on, we'll try and answer it. We can't guarantee that we can fix everything, but we have a pretty good track record, and we do as good as we can there. So you can sign up down at the table.
Do you know when the next one of those is going to be?
Yeah, and it's January 16th, this coming Monday.
The next one?
Yeah, January 16th, we're at the 11th, so 5 days.
No, for February, you know when it's going to be.
Oh, for February. Usually we do it about every 2 months, because if we do it every month, there aren't enough. We don't break enough things, so it's usually 2 months there. We'll do another one, so maybe in March. What I do with this presentation and with the handouts, I do put them out on the Carondelet website, and this lists the website. It's also listed on the back of your handout that you have there. There's a area called Tech Help, and in that Tech Help, there's a calendar that'll have when the Fix-It clinics are, the presentations, and then I try and keep it updated with the one-on-one help that's available here also. And I'll put the past meeting recordings and handouts are out there, so if you missed any of the previous presentations, they're all out there or just want to revisit it. There's an FAQ page, and if you want to ask a question or contact me, the information is out there also, my email. Okay, let's get to our main topic today, which is smartwatches for everybody. As a kid in 1960, I was captivated by the Dick Tracy watch. Dick would put that up there, and he had two-way wrist communication and video and audio there, and so I thought that was the neatest thing ever. That and more is available today with the smartwatches. Smartwatches have exploded into our world in the last 5 years. They have evolved from just simple things like counting steps to providing many smartphone and health features in them. There are now watches for every age and every lifestyle. So they aren't just for young people, they're for seniors, they're for everybody. Okay, most of the watches require connecting your watch to a smartphone, and that's to do the initial setup or to connect to using the phone and sending text messages or receiving messages or that. They have to connect from the watch to a phone there. A few of the watches do come with an option where they have built-in cell phone connectivity in the watch, so they don't require a cell phone to be available all the time. And we'll talk about some of the pluses and minuses of that a little bit later when we talk about the features. The watch you buy will depend on the smartphone that you own, the features that you need, and your budget. So it's kind of a combination of those three things that'll determine what watch might be best for you. As an example, Apple Watches only work with the iPhone. So if you have an Android phone and you're trying to use an Apple Watch, that's not a good fit. You do want to, if you want an Apple Watch, you're going to have an iPhone there. Whereas some of the other vendors like Fitbit, Garmin, Withings, Fossils, Microcores, they're compatible with both iPhones and Android phones. But then there's other vendors like Samsung, their watch, and the Google Pixel watch, they're only compatible with Android devices. So that's where pairing the watch that you buy to the phone that you have is very important there. Okay, first thing we'll talk about is mainstream watches. And these mainstream watches, I'll break it out into three different categories. Kind of a basic category, mainstream, and then a premium. The mainstream watches typically sell for $300 to $400. They're the best choice for most people, especially for their health and wellness features. Some of the watches are more accurate than others, and we'll talk about that when we talk about the features next. So next I'll mention some of the features, and the features are going to vary by model. So all these features that I mentioned may not be available on the particular model that you're looking at, but it's something to consider, and then find the watch that has the features that you want or need there. One of the features that you have in these watches is battery life. Because it's relatively small, most of them need to be charged every day. Some of them will last multiple days, but they're adding more and more features to the watch, like always-on displays and GPS that's always tracking and checking for falls and things like that. Well, all of that uses the battery, and so typically you're going to have to find some time during the day or night, that you're going to use to charge the watch. Usually they'll charge in under an hour there, but you have to find some time. Now, if you do it overnight, one of the disadvantages there is most of these watches will monitor your sleep. But if it's not on your hand, it can't monitor your sleep. So figuring out when you're going to charge it can factor in there. All of them will give you some form of exercise tracking. So whether that's biking, swimming, walking, running, it'll keep track of that. The level that it keeps track of it varies by the price. So there's basic things like steps, and then there's more advanced things like how fast are you going, how long are your feet on the ground, what elevation are you going up and down. There's all kinds of other variables that the more fancy the watch and the feature, the more it's going to be able to track there. Another feature is water resistant, so they all are at least a little bit water resistant. Some of them are swim proof, so if you do like swimming or going in a pool and wearing it, certainly you want one for that, or wearing it in the shower, not having to take it off all the time. Or if you like scuba diving or that, there's ones with different depth ranges available. Another feature is GPS, for global positioning system, for tracking. That can be for distance, location, and compass. I know people that go up to the boundary waters and they take their watch, and they like it because they can have the map on the watch and they can see where they are or how to get back to the car or the campsite or wherever they were. They don't have to pull out their phone. They can do it right on the watch there. I mentioned a little bit earlier, if you're sleep tracking, they'll do sleep duration, how long were you sleeping, what are the different sleep stages, and it checks kind of these sleep stages by checking your heart rate, or is it slower, then it knows that you've gone into a different REM mode and things like that. So there's capabilities of doing that. Almost all the watches do have the ability to view and respond to telephone calls or text messages from your phone. So usually you're linked to your phone, but instead of having to take your phone out of your pocket or out of your purse, you can just look at your watch and you can say, oh, it's Aunt Sally's calling, or little Jimmy's calling, or you can see who's calling and you can actually answer the call right on your watch. Most of the watches come with a built-in microphone and a built-in speaker, so you don't even have to take out your phone out of your purse or out of your pocket there. Some of the phones do have a feature or an option to add cellular connection, so then you wouldn't need to have the phone with you or close by all the time. So for some people, having a cellular connection is nice, that they don't have to have the phone. If you do have that option, it usually makes the watch a little bit bigger, because you're essentially fitting a lot of what you see in a cell phone into the watch there. It adds to the price, and also you have to pay a monthly service fee. That may be $5 or $10 from a cell phone provider like Verizon or AT&T or that. And it drains the battery faster too. Most people are always carrying their cell phone or have the cell phone nearby, so this option of a cellular connection usually isn't needed. So the majority of watches that are sold to people do not have a cellular connection there. They're using the cell phone that the person has to do all the cell phone type functions there. Another nice feature that you see on these is if you have in your apartment or that an Alexa device and you're used to asking questions or things like that, almost all of them will support either Siri, Alexa, or Google Assistant. So you don't have to type, you don't have to do things there. If you're familiar with the smart home devices, this ends up being kind of a smart home device, but it's on your wrist. Another feature is blood oxygen saturation level, and it goes by SpO2. This is an indicator, and it especially came into view with COVID, because it was generally accepted if your level went below 98, that might be a sign that you might have a COVID infection there. Okay, another feature that you see on most of the watches is a heart rate monitoring, or HRMs. The heart rate monitor certainly is convenient to tell you the number of hearts or heartbeats there. The only downside to that is you have this device is worn on your wrist. The fact that it's worn on your wrist means that it's not impossible, but it can be a little bit inaccurate to get readings related to the heart when most of the activity is up here. So if you're familiar with going to the doctor and getting things done, the doctor, when they want to tell exactly what's happening with the heart, they go up to the heart. And if you have an EKG or an EEG, they put it right on the heart. They aren't putting it on fingertips or things like that. It's not quite as accurate there. But you have to weigh the fact that these watches can be easily worn on your hand, can provide you with good input. It just may not be the most accurate input. And here, electrocardiogram. So some of the watches will do the ECG or the EKG, tracking your heart rhythm and electrical activity. So that can be nice. It can alert you if there's an irregularity in your heartbeat or some other activity there. Again, what you'll see is a disclaimer when you actually use the watch and turn on the feature. One of the if you do go down the route and wanted to track your EKG, and it'll when you set it up, it'll ask, do you have AFib? And if you have AFib, it won't let you turn it on. So if you do want it to track and you have AFib, tell it that you don't have AFib. And the reason they do that is Apple or these other companies don't want to be responsible if you are relying too much on the EKG and have an event and then would try and sue Apple or something saying, your device didn't go off or didn't let me know, and here I was I was having an event and it didn't do anything. So that kind of gets back to that point I was talking about. They're very good. They're very good with tracking this stuff, but they aren't perfect, and they aren't as good as, let's say, a halter or another device that attaches directly to your chest or things like that. Because it's at an extremity here, it isn't quite as accurate as other, putting it right on the heart there. This is a feature that you've probably seen in the commercials, and I'll be showing some of that stuff a little later. Fall detection and crash detection and notification. So what it does is it keeps track of if you fall into the ground and if you were in a car accident and things like that. It can automatically dial your emergency contacts or 911. And I mentioned here it's great for seniors. It gives that little extra protection there. Now with that, you have to be a little bit careful of that, because one of the things that's popped up with skiing and that is people taking a fall skiing. So if you're a skier and you take a fall, in most cases, it's going to go off. And you've got, I think it's a minute or something like that to respond. Don't call 911. Otherwise, it calls 911 if you take a fall on the ski slope. So you have to be careful of some of that, but it can certainly help in a lot of situations there. Body temperature. So there's sensors in the devices to be able to get your body temperature and then track it over time. Some of the watches now have always on screens. So my particular watch here, it's not on all the time. This is an old one that I'll talk a little bit about later. But the newer ones, the screen can be on, so you don't have to push a button to see displays or do things. It's just on there. But it can use more of your battery and cause a few other minor things there. Another thing they're handy for is timers, alarms, reminders, and notifications. So If you want to set a timer for 30 minutes to remind you of something, it's very easy to do. If you're getting notifications that you got a text message in or from any other app, let's say you have an app out there that's monitoring your credit card and it says when it's used, you can get that notification right on your watch and see it there. So again, without having to pull out the phone, unlock the phone and go in, you can see all this stuff right on the wrist there. Most of these watches support different apps being loaded on here. You're never going to have the same number of apps that you can load on a phone, but you'll have a handful of apps that make sense for a watch. Apple watches tend to have the highest number of high-quality apps. Some of the other vendors are catching up. So if you're looking for a particular function, you have to make sure that the watch model that you're looking at supports it. Another useful function that some people look for is onboard storage of music. And that's, they like to listen to music, but they may not have their phone. Well, if you want that option, only certain models of phones support that, and then you have to make sure that you have enough memory in the phone to load all the songs or the albums that you like to listen to. Another very nice feature in these watches is contactless payments. That's using a technology called NFC, or Near Field Communication. Also Apple Pay and Samsung Pay. The advantage of this contactless payment is, let's say I was down at the lunch store and I was checking out, I wouldn't have to take out my phone or go into my wallet and pull out a credit card. All I do is I take my watch, put it up to the deal, my watch would communicate with the terminal there to debit my credit card there. So contactless payment can be very handy there. And the question I get from people quite a bit is, I'm really worried about contactless payment because somebody will bump into me and steal money out of my credit card or something like that, and that really can't happen. This contactless payment is set up so that literally you've got to be within a couple of inches of the device there. So somebody can't be behind you or to the side and do it. And there's different ways that you can set up your phone where you have to put in a code to actually do the payment. So there's ways to protect against that. But it is very safe there. Another feature that you have on these watches is a camera, so you can actually even take photos with some of them. But the most helpful feature with the camera there is video calls. So if you wanted to do a FaceTime with granddaughter or something like that, you could actually do it on your watch. You wouldn't have to pull out the phone and you wouldn't have to be doing things. You could do it right on the watch itself. Because the screen is smaller, your quality that you see of their picture is going to be smaller, but it's that Dick Tracy kind of thing. You've got everything right on the wrist there, communicating there. I mentioned earlier, most of them have a microphone and built-in speakers. That's for doing calls and the voice commands. Then another nice feature usually built into them is Find My Phone. So if you do end up leaving your phone on a dresser or someplace, you're dining in the bistro and you forget it or stuff like that, they're set up to help you locate the phone either by making a sound or checking the GPS to see where it's located. Okay, so those are the features, and these features are kind of spread out across all the different models and that. In this mainstream $300 to $400 category, probably the most popular, well, not probably, the number one selling watch in this category is the Apple Watch. They just came out with a new version of it, I think back in November, and it's $399. It features an always-on OLED screen that's 20% larger than the basic Apple SE. So their basic watch, part of the reason that it's cheaper than that is it's a smaller screen, 20% smaller. And it uses Apple's third generation heart sensor to report blood oxygen, ECG, and heart rate data. Has new temperature pressures, provides more fitness metrics. It can even track ovulation there. It has built-in fall and crash detection and improved battery. Let's take a look. This is the ad. You may have seen it on TV for the new one, and that's in the Apple Watch 8. Another competitor in that mainstream category is the Fitbit Sense 2. That sells for $299. It's slim, lightweight, comfortable design, improved touchscreen responsiveness, 5-day battery life, large bright screen, excellent stress management features, and accurate body temperature data. Another one in that category, and these are the top watches in that mainstream category. If you haven't looked out there are hundreds of different models of watches by all different vendors, but these are the top selling watches in their category. The Google Pixel watch for $349, it's best for Pixel phone users, and you would have to be that Android user. If you have an iPhone, this isn't the watch for you. Attractive design, stainless steel case, bright responsiveness, good app selection, secure band attachment, fitness tracking, and an ECG app. Another one, if you're into sports, is Garmin's Forerunner, $349. It has a fitness focus with built-in programs, especially for a triathlon if you're training, or a duathlon. Okay, next let's talk about basic watches. So we talked about the mid-range watches, $300 to $400. There are basic watches, and the basic watches start at $30. So you can start getting them for $30 and go up to that $300. The basic watch will include a few of the mainstream features that we talked about. It won't include, obviously, all of them. If you mostly want to see notifications on your wrist, make mobile payments, track workouts, this watch may be the right one for you. It's also good for first-time buyers. So if you haven't had a watch before, or don't know what you really want, you may want to start out with a basic watch, see if you really do use it, and what features you may want in your next watch. Because these watches, they come out with new versions every year. So if you buy one, chances are, just like your phone and that, you may want to buy a new one in probably 2 to 3 years, because the features and functions and everything have gotten that much better in that amount of time. One of the biggest sellers in this category is the Apple Watch SE. That sells for $249. It's a second generation. It has the same software and apps, the high and low heart rate monitor, fall and crash detection, exercise models is that mainstream one, the Apple Series 8 model. It lacks an always-on display, doesn't have ECG, doesn't have blood oxygen measurements, and doesn't have a temperature sensor. But let's take a look at some of its features here. Okay, so that was the Apple SE. Another watch in this category of basic is the Fitbit Versa. has many of the Fitbit's notable features, active zone minutes, sleep tracking, built-in GPS, daily readiness score. You can get phone notifications and access to Amazon Alexa, and it'll soon support Google Maps and Google Wallet. But you need the pricier $299 Fitbit Sensor 2 to get Fitbit's more sophisticated health capabilities, more sensors in there. And ECG if you want the ECG. Samsung Galaxy has one in this category, Watch 5, $279. It's the best Android-compatible smartwatch in the market. It has competitive price, sleek design, bright screen, good app selection, battery life improvement over previous generations, and a digital bezel for quick scrolling. There's a Garmin Venue 2, offers long battery life. It's estimated to be 11 days. Many health and fitness features for the price, GPS, blood oxygen, sleep tracking, but it doesn't have a speaker or microphone for making calls. It has onboard music storage and has access to the Google Play. It's hard to find smartwatches that cost less than $200, although there are some out there. If you want to pay less and don't necessarily care about using apps, you might want to consider a fitness tracker instead. So there's lots of fitness trackers out there. Fitbit also works with certain insurance companies to provide devices for members. So it's worth checking if your health insurance offers this benefit. I mentioned here a Wise watch. Wise is a company I first started using maybe 5 years ago. They came out with security cameras, low-cost security cameras at the lowest price. And since that time, they've been an industry leader in low-cost options to some of these things. So they came out with a smartwatch. Actually, I bought what I'm wearing now is one of them. I bought mine for, I think it was $19.95. So $20, can't even buy a Timex for that. But this is it'll do fitness, keep track of steps, keeps track of sleep, heart rate, oxygen levels. If you have Wise devices in your house, you can control them. It has a relatively large screen. Battery life, I think, is about 11 days. Limited number of apps, though, that you can put on here. And it's not the smartest watch. Obviously, for $33 now it's selling for. It can't compete with some of the capabilities that you see in an Apple or some of the more expensive. Okay, the next category is the premium category. And the premium watches start at about $400 and go even up above $1,000 there. Premium watches are more rugged designs with additional features aimed at sports enthusiasts. Examples there are the Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 Pro, $499, Garmin, $699, Epix Gen 2, $899. Premium watches have better durability, so they're built to withstand extremes in temperature, water, longer battery life, more accurate GPS location tracking, customizable buttons, and extra features that are targeted for specific sports like running, scuba diving, or golf. You can get them for golf, and it'll tell you how far to the hole and things like that. The Apple example in this area is the Apple Watch Ultra. It sells for $799. It has a 36-hour battery life, and that's compared to the other models of the Apple Watch, the Series 8 and the SE, which have 18-hour battery life. Now, the way they get that battery life is, guess what? Instead of it being slim, it's about twice the size. So it's a lot bigger on your wrist. You can't pack more batteries in and not or maintain the same size there. It's water resistant to 50 meters in depth. Has a water temperature sensor, dual frequency GPS, titanium build, a larger, brighter screen, programmable action button. It sets itself apart for outdoor adventures like diving, climbing, hiking, swimming, and more. And when you're on foot, it uses L1 and L5 GPS for better accuracy and has a built-in 86 decibel siren that can go off. So if you get trapped in the crevice when you're climbing the mountain there, you can alert your buddies there that you need some help there. And it can be heard from up to 600 feet away. Great for underwater treks. The watch has EM 13319 certification and can be used as a dive computer. Let's take a quick look at this. I don't think we've got any Mount Everest explorers here, but it might be for you if you were climbing Everest. I do, on the 3M Personal Computing Club, I do get questions from some people that have bought the watch, because, and I'll talk about, don't buy a watch just because it's glitzy and it's the high end and you've got enough money. If you're buying this, 99.99% of the people in the world do not need this watch. Don't buy it. But I show it because you may see a friend that has this big thing hanging from their hand, and ask them how many times they've climbed Everest, or are they running across the Sahara Desert. Okay, a couple more tips here. Oh, what happened there? We went back to the beginning here. Couple more tips here. The Apple Watches are the best choice for an iPhone user. So definitely, if you have an iPhone, if you're looking at a watch, one of the three, the Apple SE is the basic model, the Apple Series 8 is the mid-range, and the Ultra, I don't see anybody here that needs an Ultra, so don't even worry about the Ultra there. There are also older versions of Apple Watches that might have all the features that you want. So I mentioned that they come out with these watches every year. Well, you can buy an Apple Series 6 for probably $200 or $150 less than what the Apple Series 8 is going for. So if you don't need all the new features in the Series 8, you can save yourself some money that way too by buying older models. Smartwatch isn't useful if you don't enjoy wearing it. Comfort is very important if you plan to wear it all day long and if you're going to be sleeping with it. So make sure it feels comfortable and isn't too big and clunky there. Screen size, there's all different screen sizes that you'll see in these various watches. If you get something that's too small, it can be hard to see or to push buttons or click on apps or things like that. The reverse is also true. If it's too big, it's clunky and you're banging it into things and it drains the battery. Many of these watches come with your choice of bands. You can buy bands. They are interchangeable, similar to a watch band. Well, they are a watch, but they do make they have to be specially made because these watches are usually thicker than your normal watch. I mentioned here, this is do not buy it just as a status symbol. So if you like new and shiny things, have a use for the watch and then buy the level. If you're just starting out, start with the Apple SE model for the Apple, and then most people will, if they do decide to use it and do want more features, then you can move up maybe in 2 years to a higher end model that has a few more features on it there. I mentioned here many watches come with accessories or watch bands. Some of them are sold separately or things like that. that concludes the presentation. Questions or comments? Thank you there. Yeah, and I mentioned, there's smartwatches for everybody. Now, people say, well, since I do a lot of presentations and things like that, they say, well, you know everything, so you must have the latest and the greatest. I only got a smartphone, 6 years ago? And I had a flip phone up till there. Because to me, why should I be paying? At that time, the telephone plans were $70 a month or $100 a month, and the things that you could do on the phone, I didn't need to do that on the phone. I was working at 3M. I had a computer at 3M. I had a computer at home. I could do that. I needed a flip phone. I could text people. I could receive text. That was all I needed. Same with the watches, you kind of have to figure out what you really want and what you really need there, and then you can figure out what to do. For me, the, $19.99 or that, let me see, is this doing things that I want it to do? Do I need something? Do I need an EKG? Do I need fall detection? Do I need some of this other stuff there? For everybody, they have to make their own decision on what features and functions. Yes?
So I have one, and the question that I've been getting are mostly because they've taken away our phones and independent living about falling. And actually, I did have a pretty hard fall recently, and it did go off. I was able to get up and turn it off, so that was, like 30 seconds or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it gives you like a minute or something to cancel it, so it doesn't call 911.
Yeah, but the trouble I have with it is, when I'm wearing it, I have my watch in my pocket, and you get notifications, it vibrates or something, but I don't always hear it. And I can't seem to be able to get it loud enough or strong enough to make that work. I went to the T-Mobile store. They spent about half an hour trying to figure it out, and all they did was turn off the syncing between the watch and which of course then none of the safety features worked. So I turned it back on. So I didn't know if that had happened to you or what.
No, usually there aren't too many settings other than for it to make
go through all the settings.
The tone or a vibrate there, and for some people, I know, like for my dad there, the tones, he doesn't hear any tones.
And I don't even.
And that doesn't do any good. The vibrating, some people are very sensitive to it, and other people it's this case of no, they don't notice anything. So some people, it's like a jolt to wake you up when you're in bed, but other people it doesn't do anything. That's where trying out the phone or seeing there, just like with trying out the watch and seeing.
Everything, yeah. I didn't even get a sound. I didn't like the sound.
Most of them will let you do the customization in the app on the watch.
Yeah.
So it's the app setting on the watch, because you also have usually, let's say it's text messages, you have app settings on your phone that control what tone you hear and if it vibrates and things like that. Well, on the watch itself, it has a separate set of settings for what you can do there. Now, yeah, all I can say is, is it a Apple Watch?
Yeah.
If you get out to the Mall of America, maybe check with them and ask them. They're going to know more than at the phone store.
Sure.
Yes.
Tom, I have an Apple smartphone, and when we go sometimes in the elevator or down in the garage, we get no reception. I can't use my iPhone. Is that going to happen with an Apple Watch also?
Yeah, the question, I'll repeat the question for the recording. The question was, there's some dead spots, whether it's in an elevator here or in certain areas where you don't have a cellular connection. Is that going to happen with the watch also? The way most of the watches are working is they talk to your phone. So if your phone doesn't have a connection, you won't receive calls or text messages, things like that. And now what's happening to most of the phones and that is, and again it varies by provider and the type of phone, but a lot of the phones do what's called VoIP, Voice over Internet Protocol. The Voice over Internet Protocol, it's a fancy technical term, but basically what it means is doing your cell phone connections over a Wi-Fi area. So if you have a connection to a Wi-Fi, like here at Carondelet, most of the areas have Wi-Fi that works well. Because even at 3M, when I worked at 3M and that, the problem was the cell towers are these towers that are outside there. Once you get inside a building and there's bricks and mortar and walls and stuff like that, the cell towers can't penetrate that and you won't have a cell signal. That's why you'd have all the employees or that on breaks or things like that going out near the windows or going outside to get to the cell tower there. Over the years, what they now have done, like at 3M and that, is they have what are called cell repeaters inside the building. So it's possible for companies to actually put devices inside that communicate with the outside to repeat the signals. Now that costs money, and so companies like 3M do it because it's cheaper for them to put that in than to have people go and stand by a window or go outside. So they'll do that. People are starting to put those in their houses now too to get better cell reception inside the houses. So there are options, but unfortunately, you know, if you're not getting a signal down in the parking garage, your watch isn't going to, because it's connecting to the phone and the phone isn't connecting to the cell tower.
Then also up on the fourth floor where I live over by your dad, I only have 2 bars on my phone that activate, which means I'm getting poor internet reception. Is that what I'm getting poor of, or cell connection?
Yeah, it depends on what graph you're looking at. If you're connected to the Wi-Fi network, then it's poor Wi-Fi.
I think it is up there.
Yeah, and if you're not connected to the Wi-Fi, then it's connecting to the cell towers, then it's how strong the signal is there. The thing that you have going on there, just a little FYI piece of information, is the weaker the signal, the faster your battery drains on your device. And that's because these devices, to send out a signal, it has to use more power. And if it has a strong signal that's close, it uses just a little bit of power. If it has 1 bar or 2 bars, it's a weaker signal, so it has to send it out with more power to get it there. And that used to really be a problem with the old phones, because the batteries and that were very small, and anything that was draining it extra would cut down on the battery life there. Ideally, you get a better signal. I guess the problem here is the same as if you have a private home or in any business, is at what point do you decide to put in more Wi-Fi, better Wi-Fi, things like that. That you know, originally I think up until, I don't know when they replaced it here, I think last year or something, they went through and replaced some of the Wi-Fi. But up till then, it was 10-year-old equipment from when it was first built. That's what they had in here.
Even when they upgraded it, didn't help me.
Yeah, they haven't taken a real active stance. They don't have, I wish they did more, and I think from what I've heard, their typical response to people is if you want better Wi-Fi, go with Comcast or CenturyLink and pay for your own Wi-Fi there. They'll provide this basic and that. First I'll take her and then I'll take you. Yep.
Is the reason of the Wi-Fi poor connection, the reason why when I'm on Zoom, sometimes I just freeze?
Yeah.
I'll turn it off and then come back in and it's open.
Yeah, your Zoom call can freeze because of a poor connection. It also can be a number of factors, but having a slow connection, you may have even a good connection, but let's say there's 4 other apartments near you and all the people start streaming or doing stuff at the same time. All of a sudden, it's trying to accommodate everybody, and it can't. The pipe is only so big, and so it's going to freeze or buffer or pause there, and that in there.
Do you think if I tried moving my computer that would make a difference?
If you can get a stronger signal, that's always better, and that. But the other factor is how many other people are going to be connected to it at one time. If you're familiar with a browser on your phone or tablet or that, if you go in and Google internet speed check, you can run an internet speed check just to see what the current speed that you're getting and that. And you'll see that it varies. It varies because of the number of people that are currently connected, the strength that you have. If I move my phone or my tablet from one end of the apartment to the other end of the apartment, you'll get different results because they're different quality there. Okay?
I would like help in how to access a feature. For example, can you show us, if I wanted to access the GPS, I have the SVD, can you show us how to do that?
The feature GPS is kind of like Wi-Fi. It's something that GPS is a capability of satellites up in the sky. Those satellites are constantly transmitting. Devices like the watch are receiving those signals. What you have then on the watch, on the SE, is let's say you wanted to put in a compass application to tell you what direction. You just wanted to know where's north, where's south, where's east, where's west. Well, the compass application uses GPS. There isn't a GPS application. Google Maps, as an example, when you use Google Maps on your phone or on your watch or that's using GPS to tell where your location is and things like that. So these, if I go out for a run and I'm using the fitness tracker on the watch, that's using GPS. So indirectly, when you're using these other apps, you're using GPS there.
All right, can I ask then, would you do one more? How about the sleep tracking? How would I access that?
I'm not a real, I don't have an Apple Watch there. I know I can show you maybe later on my watch what it looks like. Now, there's capabilities on the watch itself that I can get at. And those capabilities on the watch will show me limited information. When I want the graphs and charts and things like that, I have to use a tablet or a phone to go out there to see the more detail. And I would guess that would be the way that the Apple Watch would work too. So simple things like if I push mine, this has on my main display, I have the number of steps. Well, when I get my detail, it'll tell me exactly how many steps I got, when I got it, how far each thing was, how fast I was going, and all of that capability is not shown on the watch itself. It's shown when I go to my tablet or my phone or laptop and look at the detail. Okay? Other questions? Yes.
Are all phones dependent upon visual acuity?
I guess I'm not sure what you mean there. That if you were a blind person, I actually worked at 3M. We had, in the group that I worked, we had a deaf person and we had a blind person. And there are apps, now there are apps and things like that that'll speak the text, that'll, instead of typing in, you can do voice commands. That's where the Alexas, the Siri, things like that are very helpful to people that can't see or, because of can't use the small keyboards or things like that. There are so many adaptive apps and adaptive capabilities that are built into these devices now that can easily be turned on, or an additional app be added to give capability there. So it's truly a godsend for people with handicaps, and that the capabilities that you had before were certainly very limited. Now I'd say for people in the IT, once they get used to these capabilities, there is no drop in productivity between a sighted and a non-sighted person. It's just that fast once you learn how to navigate and do things. Any other questions? Okay, well, thanks for coming today, and you're welcome. Sure.